on things, but here's the question. What are you trying to prove? And who are you trying to prove it to?
Mariette's on the move.
What?
Mariette's on the move.
Again?
Mariette's on the move.
Welcome back. So far in the Dreams Part 1 playlist, you've written down your raw ideas, met future you through visualization, built your first avatar, and even explored how divine detours can teach you valuable lessons. If you haven't watched the first few episodes of this playlist, now is a good time to go back and do the prep work I just told you about. What we do in the Fred framework is we start with the dream, we get very, tight on it, and then we reverse engineer you through the other pillars and go back to the dream to see if it's still the dream. Now we're going to start sharpening that vision with 6 or 7 clarifying questions. These questions are designed to get beneath the surface of your dream so you can see what's really going on and so you stop carrying old stories that don't serve you. Welcome back to Moving for Smarties. I'm your host, Mariette Frey, and this is episode 5 of the Dreams Part 1 playlist. And hopefully you still have that notebook handy because I want you to answer these questions honestly, one by one. Take a minute before you write, really sit with it. And if you're nervous about someone finding your journal and exposing your dreams, which honestly is something people have told me about and why they don't write in journals, put it in your phone. You can lock that. You can do the, voice audio responses and then transcribe it later. But, I think even Apple has a journal app that you can lock down even more. Regardless, I come back to these questions over and over because they are questions that make people really reflect. You go quiet and it's not unusual for tears to come. So just because you might be revealing something you've never admitted out loud before, there's power in that. Let them flow. And if you don't cry, that's okay too, because maybe it's just been on your heart so long that, your body's like, finally, let's get it out there, right? But again, these questions are not moving logistics questions. They are about identity, both today's identity and the one you're stepping into in your next chapter and all of the things that you're going to need to do to become that person. After all, until you know who you're becoming, you can't possibly know where you should live, darling. Nevertheless, where you should thrive either. It's my best European accent. I don't even know what it is. British. I'm British in my family. That may be a city that you're dreaming about, but every city has different neighborhoods with a slightly different identity to it, right? Some feel more comfortable and you'll thrive in them, and some will just not. They'll feel weird and you'll get that spidey sense that's not the right place for you. Just like every company has different jobs that you'll either love or not love, right? I don't use the word hate very often, but our identity has parts, and some of them are going to like some of these places, and some of them are going to feel very protective about you being there. A great podcast and YouTube show is a show called You Make Sense with Sarah Baldwin. It's quickly becoming one of my favorite shows. She's like my personal therapist, I think. But she talks about how your identity has many different parts to it, and they generally come in twos. So you have a vulnerable part, and then you have a protector part. And if you're having a hard time getting into dreaming about your future, maybe press pause and go listen to her episode called The Formula for Growth, Why Discomfort is Required for Your Expansion. I think it is on April 14th of 2026. You guys, it blew me away. It made me super uncomfortable, like really uncomfortable at first. But that was my protector part. With what I was writing, it was trying to keep me small and not launch this channel, right? The discomfort you feel, or the kind that I felt, was, oh my gosh, you're going to be exposed. What if nobody watches? What if everybody watches? Like all of these different things. That wasn't the problem. That was the compass. It pointed me towards what I need to look at to really grow and heal past that. And so will these questions for you. That's why I want you to do them. They're so powerful, but you need that data. That's what you're collecting, right? Question number 1 is, what story are you telling yourself about yourself? So what is that story? Like, is it that you're not smart and you're not going to be able to figure that out? Peel the onion back a couple times. What makes you not smart? Did you graduate high school? Do you have a college degree? Did you, go through a hard divorce all by yourself and move to a different state? Going back and saying, okay, that's not the story that I should be telling myself is kind of inherent, right? We all know that. We should be talking kindly to ourselves. But what ends up happening is as you're peeling back the onion, you're providing evidence to and for or away from that, right? So For instance, if you're telling yourself this story, are you the hero of the story, right? Who figures it out in the end? Or is it a story full of doubt? Like I just said, like the who do you think you are narrative. I ask because the story you tell yourself on repeat becomes the life that you're living. And if it feels unfamiliar or overly familiar, that's probably why. I had a client who kept telling herself that she was not the kind of person that takes risks, which is crazy to me, right? After hearing all of her stories, I started unpacking this with her because she had taken enormous risks. Like as a high school kid going into college, she drove from Texas to Southern Illinois University all by herself, right? That's a huge risk. I mean, there are things that she had done in her life that she just never realized were actual risks, so she wasn't giving herself credit for them. And when she realized they were actually actual risks, that story became fiction. And the evidence all proved that she is someone that takes risks, and she just might be a little bit calculated about them, but they're all good, and she survived 100% of them, right? So look for the evidence that says whatever the opposite of that story is. Question number 2. Oh, this is a hard one. If you gave yourself full unconditional permission to dream, what identity would you step into? Are you the confident leader, the artist, the entrepreneur, the explorer, the parent who lives somewhere, where their kids can thrive, but maybe they're not and they want to? Say it out loud if you can. There is power in hearing your voice claim these things. But I want you to really think about this. If you gave yourself full unconditional permission to dream, what identity would you step into? That could be Major League Baseball player, right? And I know that sounds silly, but you could start playing baseball and just see if you like it. And then obviously there's, limitations in this, but when you're giving yourself full permission to dream, your body doesn't know the difference between you being in the big leagues or you playing on a Tuesday night in the park somewhere. You have to take a step into giving yourself permission. It might not look like the big picture that you see in your dream, but it might be a version of that. And if you have that unconditional permission to dream, see what comes out. If it's a bunch of things around singing on stage or going to karaoke more or being in theater, that could be you saying like, hey, I miss the creative side of me. Maybe I should try that. Maybe I'll take a class, right? There is power in hearing your own voice claim it. I know I said that before, but it is so powerful. So write those things down, peel back the onion, a couple layers, 6 if you can, right? That's my favorite number. Question 3. What does future self look like? Not just clothes and the vain stuff, but like, what's the posture? What kind of energy do you walk into a room with? What is the first thing people notice about you? This is where that celebrity energy we talked about in the visualization exercise comes back to, right? I mentioned in that video, Whitney Euland. Go find her channel on Instagram or YouTube. She talks all about stepping into it and she teaches people how to do that. That is what you're doing here. How does future self act on a daily basis? That's question number 4. It makes sense. So if you're becoming someone, what do they look like? But then, what do they act like? That's the stuff you want to write down too. There is this saying called be, do, have. I used to have it up on my action board and I looked at it every single day. And I had to get really, really clear on what I wanted to have in my life and what I wanted to be. So if you want to be a specific person who has a specific career or lives in a specific place, you have to do what they do on a daily basis to have what they have. So be, do, have. That being said, what habits does this person have? What routines anchor their day? Are they getting up at 5 a.m. and working out because they want to be someone that has a strong body and a strong mind, right? What do they do in their day? How do they treat themselves when things go hard or when things get hard? How do they treat themselves when things, are great? How do they treat others when things are hard? How do they, write all that stuff down because that's what you're stepping into. You're creating those what if scenarios. So as you're going through and stepping into that life, when those things come up, you've got a plan. That's what you're looking to do. So question 4 again is, how does future self act on a daily basis? Not just the routines, right? Not just the habits, but how do you make people feel? Are you helping one person every day? What's the energy you're bringing to wherever it is that you want to be in this next chapter? That's what I want you to start looking at, and I want you to start anchoring your day in that now. You don't have to work out 5 days a week, but if you work out 2 and you weren't working out at all before, that is a great start, right? So, question 5. This may seem pretty obvious, but it isn't always. What is stopping you from becoming that version of yourself right now, right? Is it money? Is it time? Is it a story? A belief that you're not capable? A relationship that keeps you small? Write it down. Get it out of your head, out onto paper, where it's just words. It's not a prison anymore. A great podcast and YouTube show as well, that you can watch where you can learn more about personal prisons is Finding Freedom with Peter Crone. It's awesome. He's got this amazing Australian accent, but he makes even the hardest things easy to listen to. And then it just gets into your persona, it gets into your brain, and you really start to think about some of these things. Like, where are you keeping yourself small? What is the prison that you've put yourself into that, is only up to you to get yourself out? So I would say literally Peter and Sarah are in my top 3 podcasts that I listen to every week. But you want to find that freedom, and that's what we're doing in this exercise, right? We are really, really taking the time to see what is stopping us, right? It could be a physical limitation. I am aware of those things, but most of the time it's ourselves telling ourselves that we don't have enough time. Well, if you want something bad enough, you won't find an excuse to not do it. But the protector part of yourself might keep you from doing it with, other things that are distracting you. And that's what you have to really peel back the onion on. What is stopping you from becoming that version of yourself right now? Because who knows, once you step into that, you might not like it, or you might love it and want more of it. So that's what question 5 is all about. Now, this may sound silly. Is that really a true story? Or is that just assumption that you've been carrying? That question is the one that could change everything, because sometimes the loudest obstacles are just stories we never bothered to challenge about ourselves, right? Starting today and doing something that you haven't done in a while, that's challenging what you've been telling yourself, right? I'm not good with money. Maybe because you haven't tried, right? That doesn't make you an imposter or dumb with money. It just means that you're a beginner and you've got to fine tune that skill set. I developed the framework myself, like the Fred framework, to keep my own gypsy spirit and my ADHD in check, right? I needed to help make rational decisions. And one of the biggest things I discovered was that most of the reasons I thought I could not do something were assumptions, not facts. I had a ton of evidentiary proof that I could do and thrive in what I want to do. But when I actually looked at the answers or the data that I was collecting, the path was way more open than my fear made it seem. And there literally wasn't any evidence that I would fail. I would do it. It might not be as popular or as accepted as I want it to be, but I will have done it. And I had succeeded or pivoted in just about everything that I've done in my life, right? Pivoting, if that story is not serving you, is a success, not a failure. That's growth, because you're saying, I'm no longer okay identifying as the victim of that story because I survived and got out of that situation, which makes you empowered, right? If you're watching this today, right at this very moment, it's not on accident. It's because you've survived 100% of the things that have been thrown your way up until this very minute. And you're going to survive whatever exploration or experiment that you're going to do. And that it'll be X out of your life once you realize that you can do those things. But here's a bonus question, and it's kind of a twofer. This might come up in a later episode as well. Maybe write it down, but don't answer it just yet. I know that sounds counterintuitive to this list that I keep telling you to make, but I want you to really mull it over, ruminate on it. Even if you're an ADHDer, that's a big thing for us, is ruminating on things. But here's the question. What are you trying to prove? And who are you trying to prove it to? What are you trying to prove by going, by staying, by not doing this, by doing this? And who are you trying to prove it to? There's always someone. Take a deep breath here. Some of these questions might have stirred up so much more than you expected, and that's a good thing. Discomfort is not a red light, it's a spotlight. It shows you exactly where you need to lean in, peel back that onion I keep talking about. I actually really love onions. My favorite onions in the world are at a Cubs game on a hot dog with mustard on it. That's a Chicago thing. We're starting Cubs season soon, so I had to throw that in there. But remember, we are still not in the how you're going to make any of this work. We are still in the what. What do I want to do? What am I good at? What is my dream? What am I getting really, really clear on? The what, not the how, because that'll come later, right? The more vividly you can define what you are aiming for, the easier it becomes to build that roadmap later. That's what finances, robustness, and ecosystem are for. Pause the video or the podcast. Write down your answers. Take your time. And when you're ready, I will see you in the last episode of this playlist where we are going to test your dream with timelines, allies, and what I call the courage check. Then we're going to reverse engineer you into the beginning of the framework. That's what the finances, robustness, and ecosystem are for. We haven't even gotten to those yet, right? We'll end with dreams part 2. The last one, it's to see if your dream is really still the dream, right? Or if it's a good time to pivot so you can open yourself up to what does feel more spiritually aligned. So,
Mariette's on the move. What? Mariette's on the move.
Again?
Mariette's on the move.
thanks for hanging out with me today. Make sure you hit subscribe if you're exploring a move or just want to feel more grounded while you figure out what's next. You can go to movingforsmarties.com and join us inside the Smart Move Society. The link to our free community is also going to be in the description of this episode. That's where we go deeper with planning tools, meet people in your new and maybe old community, and have real conversations about finding a place that fits who you're becoming. So, onward, Moving Smarty. I'll see you in the next episode.